Hello and welcome to week 6. So everyone should feel good about themselves because you have made it this far and you have one more discussion board post to go and one final assignment to do, and you will be done with English 112 Composition 2. So for this week, in your discussion board post number 2, in your discussion board post number 6, you'll have 3 questions. Do not let the 3 questions fool you because these 3 questions still require you to do quite a bit of work. So for this week, you will finish Albert Camus' The Stranger. And I want you to think about how The Stranger is an existentialist story. And I also want you to think about Meursault, the main character, sort of the epiphany that he goes through. Well, first off, why is Meursault imprisoned? And the act that he commits to lead to his imprisonment, is that something that he's in control of? Is as a character, is he in control of his actions throughout the text? And also, who are the other characters that sort of control, not necessarily control, but influence his actions? So, for instance, who is Raymond, and why is Raymond significant to Meursault's character? Who is Marie, and how does Meursault and Marie's relationship sort of give us larger, sort of an understanding of Meursault's personality, but also a larger understanding of gender and how gender sort of plays out in this story as well. So how does, Meursault describe male characters versus how does he describe female characters? And then I also want you to think about, some of the things, the decisions that Meursault makes and how this, largely sort of might be connected with some of Albert Camus' political views. And I want you to think about, do you agree or disagree with some of these political, philosophical views, and why or why not? So the questions that you're going to be referring to for this week, the first question, I want you to think about the epiphany that Meursault has while he's in prison. And why does he actually look forward to his execution? So there are going to be a series of epiphanies that Meursault has while he's in prison. And he's also going to make these, really fascinating observations about society while he's on trial. So there are going to be many things that from which you can choose, but particularly, what is this sort of larger sort of understanding that he has about his life? And then again, how does that lead to him sort of looking forward to or reconciling with the inevitability of his fate, which is to be executed? Number 2, this is going to tie into how you answer number 1 is going to tie into how you answer question number 2, which is, what is the central theme of the novel? All right, so a lot of the things that you describe in question number 1, you'll be able to develop that even more in question number 2. And I made a note in the discussion board post for this week to make sure that in your examples for this week that you include contextual examples from the story, that you include at least one direct quote to support your point. And one of the things that I noticed happening in the last week's discussion board post is that it's great that you all are including direct quotes, but you have to discuss why those quotes that you are using support your main observation that you are making. And this is going to be tied into your final assignment as well. So when you are answering these questions and when you are using direct quotes and responding to these direct quotes, you're getting practice on analysis and synthesis that's going to be extremely important when you do your final assignment. So make sure that when you are talking about Camus' The Stranger, that you are able to I should back up, you're able to describe the context of the scene that you're going to use to support the main point that you're making. And then you're also going to pull a direct quote from that scene that you're describing, and you're going to discuss why the information that you've just presented backs up your point. So you want to think to yourself that your audience has not read this book, but you are giving them, but at the same time, it's not your job to describe every single thing in the book from the beginning to the end, but rather stick to the example that you are using to support your main point. Now, all of that and practice doing that is going to spill over into question number 3, which is your final assignment. So question number 3, I want you to choose between MLA and APA formatting, and I want you to submit a rough draft of your final assignment. So this draft can be under construction. I am not expecting a completed 100% perfectly articulated final assignment. I am, however, expecting an attempt. I am expecting a thesis statement, and I'm expecting to be able to get a sense of how you are going to use the research that you have attained to support your thesis statement. And I'm not going to be so much of a stickler about the APA and MLA formatting in question number 3, but I want you to tell me specifically, well, I should be able to tell which one you're going to use based off of how you format your rough draft. But if you don't do that right away in your rough draft, make sure that you tell me in question number 3, or when you upload your assignment, make sure you tell me that you're going to use APA or MLA so I know how to give you feedback accordingly. Again, this assignment can be under construction, but the thing that I always tell my students when when we have this opportunity to work on our final assignments, the more you include and the more detailed you are in this attempt, the more effective and the more productive my feedback will be, and the easier it'll be for you to continue to make revisions and also polish your paper for the due date. Now, the thing about the due date, what I've done is I've opened up, and I'm just going to the course tasks. Just 1 second. So what I've done for your final assignment will be submitted in the Dropbox in eLearning, and it'll state final assignment. You have to submit your final assignment no later than June 29th at 8 p.m. Now, on the assignment sheet, it says 8 a.m. But I want to give you a little bit more breathing room for that day to turn it in, so you can turn it in no later than 8 p.m. on June 29th. Now, I know throughout the semester I've been a little bit flexible when it comes to due dates, but for this particular paper, I cannot be flexible because we're not just working with my deadline, but we're also working with the registrar's deadline at the college, who's working with state deadlines. So I have to make sure that I'm able to get your assignment and give you feedback and also submit those grades in the appropriate time. So again, your final assignment is due no later than 8 p.m. on June 29th. And if I were you, the earlier the better. All right, so that you can be sure that everything is in on time. And for those of you who are perfectionists and like to have your paper but not want to submit it until the actual deadline, make sure you plan about 15 minutes prior to 8, because sometimes e-learning will close, or sometimes I find that e-learning is 2 or 3 minutes fast than a student's cell phone or their watch. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you plan to submit your final assignment. Those are the major things that I want to talk about for this week. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, between now and June 29th, I will be uploading, or I'll be reminding you all about the things that you need to think about when you are writing your final assignment. For instance, attributive tags, in-text citations, quoting, spelling, grammar, things of that nature. So the things that I've put in your discussion board post, the feedback that I've given you, the links that I've provided for you, go back, review those things, and then, over the course between now and the next week or so, I'm going to be reminding you all of some of those things that you want to keep in mind as you compose the final assignment. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have to cover for this week. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. Happy writing, happy reading, and I will see you in cyberspace.